welcome back. Today I'm going to look at my favourite monster movies. Now, I define a monster movie as, am I going for this film for the monster? That's a monster movie. It can be sci-fi, it can be, fantasy, it can be horror, all sorts of things. So this one stands apart from favourite action, favourite science fiction, favourite horror. This one is monster movies can be in any of these categories. So I'm not like but other lists I try and say you're in one category and that's it. But this one, monster movies, you can be in other lists too. That's my definition in this one. So I'm just going for my favourite monster movies. So here they are. Right, so first two is Alien and Aliens. Now there are other Alien films I like Alien 3. And I do have a soft spot for Prometheus and Alien Covenant, even though they're very flawed films. You know, there are bits of those films I really like, and there's bits I think need a lot of work. But it's like, but the first Alien and Aliens do stand up. Alien introduced the monster, had the face hugger, had the alien creature at the start as well that was dead, and the whole haunted spaceship. Yes, I'm a massive fan of Planet of Vampires. That's my favourite Alien, but you can't deny Alien how well done it was. And a lot of it was Dan O'Bannon actually, and H.G. Geiger. Because when you look at Prometheus, you think that sometimes Ridley Scott sometimes doesn't quite understand his own creation in certain areas, which led to kind of weird dislocations with those films. Aliens is one I like more though. I like Aliens more than Alien, even though apparently you're meant to like Alien more. I think Aliens is more fun film. It's more engaging. You know, the characters are more interesting. The setup's better. It doesn't have the uniqueness of Alien with its first scene of monster or that old and the basically abandoned ship. But it makes up for character and pacing and excitement and just the drama of it. So, and again, the alien's been redesigned a little bit. But you also get the Queen Alien at the end. So Aliens is wonderful. We have The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, a Ray Harryhausen film. You're going to see a lot of Ray Harryhausen here. What a shocker, this one's a dinosaur on the loose. You know, you're not there for the human beings in this film. You're there for the monster, and the monster's great, especially when it's attacking the fairground. Just generally, I love the film for the atmosphere of the monster in modern day. It's wonderful. There's not much more to say about the actual film beyond it's just wonderful fantasy movie. It's a delight. Again, stop motion monsters are always full of personality. Next is Beauty and the Beast. Now, I've been told I will talk too fast when I'm giving titles, so I'm going to go slower on the titles now, just in case. Beauty and the Beast. This is the Cocteau film. This is the famous one that the Disney version obviously was a bit influenced by. There's been other versions of Beauty and the Beast, but this one just is the best one. It's like it tells a familiar story, but it tells it beautifully. It just works. It's one of those things that just works. It's not like trying too hard. I think the Disney films versions try too hard to be funny. I kind of like it when it's much more of a pure kind of fairy tale kind of situation, and there's atmosphere to it. That's more what I like than jokes. So that's my take. That's the best one, the Cocteau. Now we have The Blob, which is a remake from the 80s Chuck Russell one. The original Blob is kind of boring. It has Steve McQueen, but it's actually a boring film. The remake actually is the film you want to see when you see The Blob. You know, it's got teenagers who are going to die horribly. It's got townsfolk who are going to die horribly. Even Kevin Dillon as an absurd hero, but it kind of works because he is kind of silly and he is kind of over his head, and you've got a military conspiracy, and it's just one of those films that works. I mean, it's like it's so 80s in its effects and its characters and its hairstyles, but it all comes together beautifully. It just works. as a fun monster movie. So, yep, that one. Now we have the Frankensteins. I'll just go through all the Frankensteins because there's quite a few. So we have the James Whale double bill. You've got Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein. The original Frankenstein's great because it's just moved on from the silent films, but so there's just dialogue, but it's still got the atmosphere of the silent films. It's still got the atmosphere of shooting a lot with the camera, shooting a lot of atmosphere, just having the dialogue be basic, and just having the sense of you have some characterization, but it's the atmosphere of this monster and this landscape that's alien to it. It's just a wonderful film. By the time we get the Bride of Frankenstein, we've got the Bride is basically a fantasy comedy version of it. So it's a lot of humour, a lot of a dark, campy humour. But you still get the great shots. James Whale was great at atmospheric shots that were just wonderful. I mean, it's just like one of those wonderful, perfect films that takes the idea of a sequel and actually does it properly in the sense of we're going to do some more with this idea. And that's it. That's what we're going to do. And after this film, James Whale was done with Frankenstein. This didn't make as much money as the original, and I think Whale had kind of had done everything he could with it. For the Hammer Frankensteins, normally people would go with the cusp. I'm going to go with Frankenstein, the Monster from Hell, which along with Frankenstein Created Women is one of my favourites, really, of the Frankenstein films. Well, I really like the Hammer Frankenstein films. Because Peter Cushing's Frankenstein, you've got he's the lead character. It's him and all different monsters creates. It creates a different feel. Like you don't have the kind of isolation of the colour monster. Here you have the monster as Frankenstein, the creator. And at this point, Frankenstein Monster from Hell, Cushing was getting older, and it was just a case of he was continuing with even worse results. So it was a sense of he was it wasn't going well. At this point, the creature had evolved into just being like a monster. And there's a kind of sense of sadness, the whole thing that Frankenstein's career had just collapsed into making these very basic monsters, and there's just this kind of sense of pathos. I think it works really well with Frankenstein myth, an idea of the monster movie, a sense of it's a doomed life, and this film really gets it, which is why I love it. And Frankenstein Created Women has that same feeling to it, this sense of it's all doomed. It's not going to get any better. Finally, we have the Del Toro Frankenstein. It's just come out, which it's probably the newest film on this list. I think it's a wonderful film. It's got an interesting young Frankenstein with Oscar Isaac, who's is a total monster. He is self-involved. He is doing it for his own sake, but he has knowledge about how selfish he is, and it's about the people around him he damages, and it's about the creature that's left alone and is damaged by his actions, and it's just a sense of damaged people creating damaged people in this cycle where people are doing things and they have a theory of why they're doing it, but they don't quite understand why they're doing it half the time. And it's just a sense of tragedy of people acting without a full understanding of why they're acting, which I think works really well, because I think that's something you get a lot in Del Toro films, people doing things to find out why they're doing things. And the tragedy it causes, which is something I think he takes a lot from Cronenberg. So there's that. I mean, I don't think I've got any Cronenberg films here. Oh yeah, I do have a Cronenberg film actually, but Cronenberg's almost like he doesn't do some obvious monster movies, but he it's almost like a genre in itself. Right, back to the monster movies with Company of Wolves, which is Neil Jordan film, all about werewolves. I think that's the most beautiful werewolf film. It's a delight. Stories within stories. Jordan does Red Riding Hood, based on Angela Carter stories, and they create this world where it's all about coming of age for a young woman, and she dreams of all these different stories. that are emerging in our dreams and melding together. It's a beautiful film. I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into massive detail, but it is wonderful. We've got Creature from the Black Lagoon. Um, Another beautiful monster movie about a creature that's misunderstood. Very much influenced by King Kong, where they take him out of his natural habitat. It's it's just a tragedy. They're trying to get this creature, even though the creature doesn't want to be got. It's like it doesn't want to. It just wants to be where it is, and they're trying to take it away. And once they've discovered it, they want to make it create something. In the sequels, it goes out a natural environment, and it causes tragedy. So it's a. I'm kind of thinking of all the films, but the Creature in the Black Lagoon original was the best one. But I've a soft spot for them all. Again, a great monster. I mean, all these films have great monsters. Even Company of Wolves, which is not a monster movie, in a sense of it's not just about werewolves. The werewolves are so good that they do drag you to the stories. Now we have Dark Shadows, which is probably the least liked film in this list. Not a lot of people like it, but it's all about it's a remake of the TV show Dark Shadows by Tim Burton. It's got Johnny Depp as a vampire, and you have this supernatural family. It's very strange, but it delights in the monstrousness of all these characters, and it's a film about monsters, but traditional monsters and all types. Like you've got werewolves, you've got ghosts, you've got witches, you've all sorts of creatures, but it's also a comedy. So it's a delightful film. It is a monster movie, even though people just say it's a comedy horror. It's a monster movie, which I think is something that didn't sell it on enough. Because I think once you realise it's a monster movie, it actually makes much more sense. It's almost like Tim Burton's version of like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. Now we have Dragon Slayer, which is a dragon movie. This is dragons count as monsters for me, so I love to say they're just fantasy creatures, but to me they're monsters, and they're delightful. This one's got great special effects with Phil Tippett. It was a massive failure, but this idea of a dragon like dominating a town and the effects in the town by the dragons dominating it by a young man coming of age to try and kill the dragon. It's a beautiful film. It's underrated. It didn't do well in release, but it's got its charms, and it's the one of those films. It's like they try to do the dragon stuff and in the Hobbit series, and they never quite deliver the same way as Dragon Slayer does. And I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson would agree with that one actually, because he loves his monster movies. From Beyond, the Stuart Gordon film. This is a very strange film. The monsters are human beings who are doing experiments to go to the world beyond, and who become mutated. So again, it's like the mad scientist monster movie. It's on the list because how they mutate is wonderfully weird and funny, and it's just a strange, delightfully perverse monster movie. And it's like there's not much more to say, but go watch it. I'm trying not to say much about it because it's just seeing it is part of the joy. Now we have Gamera, Attack of Legion. I had to have a Gamera film in here because I love Japanese monster movies. This is of the newer Gamera films. There was a trilogy of Gamera films in the 90s. This was the best one. I've not seen it for a while, but to me, I remember just finding it just wonderful. So I'm not going to go into details because I can't remember the plot. I just remember the atmosphere, but it's still one of my favourites. So it's just a case of I need to rewatch this soon. Right, now we have Godzilla movies. There are tons of Godzilla movies, so I'll just list them of my favourite Godzilla movies. We've got the original Godzilla. We've got Godzilla. Right, that's a long title. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all attack. which are the monsters all come against Godzilla. It's just wonderful. It's like I could make this whole list of Godzilla movies, but I limit myself to ones I really like and I watch a lot. There's Godzilla Final Wars, which is a ridiculous, over the top all the monsters from Godzilla movies in one. We've got Godzilla Minus One, which is the new Godzilla film that is just wonderful. You've got Shin Godzilla, which is another a reboot of Godzilla from like 2016. And that's wonderful as well. Those are the films I probably watch most of Godzilla movies. But there's plenty of other ones I'll happily rewatch, like most of them. Like even the kind of weaker Godzilla films I like. Of the American ones, I'm going to go for the Gareth Edwards Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Kong, both of which I liked a lot. They're just wonderful. I mean, the original Godzilla the Gareth Edwards Godzilla takes the original with respect, but does its own thing. It builds up slowly to reveal Godzilla and makes those things count. I liked the other stuff too. A lot of people said it was boring apart from Godzilla, but I loved all of it, which is why it's on the list. I liked the characters, even though a lot of people didn't like them, I did. I just think it was just a wonderful film. And Godzilla vs. Kong is like the short era version of Godzilla, of the kind of modern Godzilla films. It and the Godzilla X Kong New Empire are both like short era silliness by the Wingard. But this is only chose one, which is Godzilla vs. Kong, because it's just fun. It's just fun. You get a couple of great Godzilla Kong fights, and you also get Mechagodzilla later on. What more can you ask for? There's less humans in Adam Wingard films, or the humans are more eccentric. So, and it allows the actors to be eccentric, so they are fun. Now we're going into another Ray Harryhausen. We've got the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, the one from the 70s, where John Philip Law is Sinbad and Tom Baker is the villain. It's great. It's amazing. I watched it recently again. None of these more to be said. It's just a delight throughout. The characters are fun. The monsters are fun. You get the famous monster with all different arms based on the Indian myth fighting Sinbad. And Tom Baker's a villain, is a total scumbag, which is what you want from a villain. And John Philip Law is the best on-screen Sinbad. Apparently not the best swordsman, but for being a presence in the film, he delivers the best Sinbad. So that's the Sinbad film you should see. Next is Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. I love both Hellboy films from Del Toro, but I like this one a little bit more at the moment. In a year, I could switch to the first one again. So this one's more of a monster movie. I think that's why this is in the list as a monster movie, because it delights the monsters. There's a monster cavern of these various monsters halfway through. When they get to the end with the Golden Army, there's tons of monsters there as well. It's just a monster mash. I adore it. There's Hulk, the Ang Lee film that not a lot of people like. I adore it. It's Bergman versus meets Hulk with lots of split screen and craziness, and Hulk versus his crazy dad Nick Nolte. Eric Bana's Hulk and Bruce Banner, and he's like this repressed guy who is freed when he gets angry to be Hulk, and it's just a delightful film. And it is a monster movie. The rest of the Marvel films tend to be superhero films. This is the one time it goes full on monster movie. And the humans are the monsters a lot of the time. It's just wonderful. Back to Ray Harryhausen, we have Jason and Argonauts. How can you have a monster movie list without Jason and Argonauts? It's got a terrific story. The monsters are great throughout. You've got the metal monster on the beach, which is a highlight. You've got the Golden Fleece. You've got the various monsters attacking the ship and on the skeletons, and it's just one thing after another. And the characters are fun as well, and the whole thing just works. Again, another film I've seen recently, and I've seen it multiple times, and I'll see it again soon. So there's no way this could not be on the list. Jurassic Park, it's a very terrific monster movie. It's more flawed than people allow for nowadays. People say it's flawless, but compared to Jaws, and Jaws is a better movie. This one has clunky setup, but it has the dinosaurs, who are treated as, you know, great movie monsters by Spielberg. Even though he calls them creatures, they're monsters in the best possible way, and they're treated with real respect. And you also, you know, Sam Neill's a good lead human actor to be in this because he's not like hogging the screen all the time, so he gets through the human part of the story in exactly the right way, in a way that I think in some of the later films you don't quite get, because you don't quite get the kind of right balance of human and monster. Because the human characters have to, because you've got Jeff Goldblum being the funny guy, and you've Sam Neill being the straight man, but you need that kind of mix of the right mix of like eccentricity and a solid lead who can be human through this monster movie. So that's a delight. And now to a movie that obviously inspired Jurassic Park, which is King Kong, the original King Kong. But I'm also including the Peter Jackson King Kong as well. Although the original's still ahead. I adore the original. The original's brilliant. It's delightful. It will never be topped. The end's heartbreaking. I've talked about it before. I'm not going to go into detail. But I also like the Peter Jackson one, especially the long version. The longer cut that is like 3 hours 20. I would recommend. It's a film that needs a remaster though, because it came out in 4K early on in 4K, and it was not a great 4K, so it could do a remaster. But yeah, it's a nicely done tribute. It's a bit more sentimental. It's way more self-indulgent, but the bits that hit really hit, which is why I like it a lot. It's a film I've watched a lot, so I cannot deny it. I really have a soft spot for that film. The Monster Squad, it's the like kids versus Universal monsters, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy. I guess a bunch of smart ass kids. Fred Dekker directed it and he wrote it with Shane Black. This is Shane Black's kids movie. So yeah, it's wonderful. Go see. Do not know anything about it. Just it's kids versus old Universal monster. That's all you need to know. And it's 80 minutes long, so it doesn't outstay its welcome. It did not do well on release, but once it hit video, that's where it got its fans. Because I think over in Britain we didn't even get it in release. I think we just got it in video. And I think it's a case of it was just one of those films like Big Trouble in Little China that just it was a film made for the home. Even though it's got likes production values, it was made for the home. Now we have Monsters, the another Gareth Edwards film. He's as his debut. It's about two people in South America trying to get back home to America through a monster zone because monsters have arrived from space, and it's but them going through a jungle where there's lots of crazy monsters who are just basically creatures trying to survive. And it's just the delight of our world made different and our world made strange. It's great. Highly recommended. I don't think enough people see it though. Now we have Nightbreed, another film that was destroyed on release. I would definitely recommend the longer version. I read the novel before this was released, and I loved the novel. This film was such a disaster that Clive Barker didn't write any sequels to the novel, even though it was meant to be a trilogy. The newer version managed to put back in stuff that it was missing, because the original version, the actual version, is very clunky, even though I still like it. But the new version is better. It's still clunky, but it includes bits that actually make sense to the story. So, again, it is a wonderful monster movie. Now we have two Nosferatus, and it could have easily been three, but I don't think Werner Herzog would like to be the monster movie list. So out of respect for Herzog, I would put this on the monster movie list. But I love his film too, but I have not seen it enough recently. The original Nosferatu is amazing. It's wonderful. I've seen it multiple times. I'll see it multiple times more. It is essential. It's a delight. It's one of those primal film experiences. and it's also just a great monster movie. But you also have the remake by Robert Eggers, which I've only watched once so far, but it's also wonderful. They have a great new version of Nosferatu with Bill Skarsgård, and it's just its own thing. It's as influenced by Herzog as it is by Murnau, but also does its own version of everything. And I think it's just a unique, different take on Nosferatu. It's its own thing, which is what I like about all three Nosferatus. Is they're their own film. They're not trying to be. Both of remakes are respectful of the original, but they're also trying to be their own thing. And I think they're all individually interesting. I have not seen the cheapo CGI thingy, or AI thing that they did a year or two ago. I saw like 10 minutes of it, and I just couldn't survive anymore. So obviously that's not going to be on the list. Next is Pacific Rim, the Del Toro film, giant monsters versus giant robots. How could I resist? I couldn't. I've watched it multiple times. I've watched it multiple times more. Yes, some of the character stuff's clunky, but it's intentionally clunky. It's based on a kind of genre, a kind of World War II, yeah, American hero type of thing. It's based on that kind of idea. It's wonderful. It's got a wonderful soul to it. The bigger the screen, the better for this film. The better quality of the image, the better. I've got it in 3D and 4K. It's just delightful. Avoid the sequel. The sequel's just garbage and does not count. Next is Phase 4, the Ants movie, where they're just little monsters, but they're causing massive problems. Monsters can be any size for me, and this one's a beauty. It's very atmospheric, just wonderful. I count it as a monster movie. I don't care if they're the small monsters. Next is Piranha, Joe Dante version, though I'd really like the 3D remake as well. But Alexandra Aja, it's also a lot of fun, but I still like the Dante version more. I mean, it and Phase 4 are both like great 70s monster movies. Next is Predator, the original, John McTiernan, another one to watch on repeat. It's great. Soldiers versus big monsters, how to hunt them. Arnie versus somebody who is actually stronger than he is, and so he has to survive in his slyness and, instinct rather than his muscles. It just works every time, and it's never been topped by any of the sequels. Nothing's ever really come close to this one. So yeah, it's wonderful. Quatermass Experiment. It's a wonderful film of a monster, a human being turned into a monster, based on a BBC show. This one haunted me as a teenager. I still think it's one of the most wonderful monster movie ideas ever. I think it just works. It's one of those films that just works, and it's just a great movie. But it's also just a great monster movie. And it's still a creepy idea that hasn't been done much. Or it's been done so terribly, you always go back to this because it's been done so much better here. The Shape of Water, an Del Toro film. I won an Oscar. This is the one that won an Oscar. An Oscar-winning monster movie. Has to be on the list. But also, it's just a delightful look at the creature from Black Lagoon from a different perspective in the 50s. A love story between a timid young woman and this creature that's been caught. It's just a delight. It's nothing more to be said. It's just got a delightful tone to it, and the idea of all these outcasts, whether they work for the government or work, just living lonely lives. It's a sense of outcast. Even the villain, you have some sort of feeling for, even though he's a monster, which is an Del Toro trait. Obviously, I could not do a monster movie that's from a lot of Del Toro films. He practically lives there. Now we have the Cronenberg Shivers. It's now you could say like The Fly's a monster movie, but I think you get more Jeff Goldblum before it comes to Fly, and I see it more of a sci-fi horror than a monster movie. Even though the monster movie's good, stuff's good, but Shivers is a monsters invading humans, and it feels like a more interesting monster movie to cover as a monster movie. At least for me. You could disagree if you want. But Shivers is creepy and weird, and Despite its low budget, it's just creepy and it goes so much further than you'd expect. But how this monstrous infection in these people makes them into monsters to do things you do not want to see in a film. It's it's a very uncomfortable monster movie, you know. Next is Them, Giant Ants. We've had the small ants with Phase 4. Let's have the giant ants with Them. Them's wonderful. Them is a great 50s monster movie. I couldn't resist. I've got another 50s monster movie coming up. Right now, in fact, because you've both. The original thing from Another World and then the John Carpenter thing. Both are great monster movies for different reasons. Both set in the snow, and I think it's Antarctica. Both set, and yeah, the thing is just like one monster that doesn't change shape, but it's just it versus the humans and watching them struggle with it. And it's a great like paranoid 50s monster movie. Well, The Thing is a great monster movie about a creature that can change shape and become us. And Rob Bottin just has a lot of fun with the monstrosities that it creates for John Carpenter. This is a great paranoid movie. One of the ultimate monster movies. Obviously, you couldn't leave that off. Again, I've covered this so many times that obviously I'm not going to just go on and on about it. Now we have Tremors, which is a throwback to the monster movies of the 50s with Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward. This is a wonderful movie, very underrated. Not enough people have seen it. I think people like monster movies love it, but I think the outside world haven't seen it enough. But it is just wonderful. Again, another perennial. I watched this multiple times. I watch multiple times more. And finally, we have the War of Gargantuous. The the kind of Frankenstein Conquers the World sequel, which is a Gargantuous fighting. It's absurd, it's insane, it's wonderful, it's a perfect monster movie because all the reality of it doesn't matter. It's just these wonderful monsters fighting and walking through these like model sets and causing havoc, and it's just a thing of beauty. Where's the 4K release of this film? That's what I want to know, is because it is a thing of beauty. War Gargantuous. It's just wonderful. Now I'll leave a list. I'll leave a link to this list so you can see it. In case I was talking too fast, which I've been criticised for, there is a list and a link to here so that you can see if you misheard what I said at any point. There is a list. There are films like The Fly or Jaws, which in some ways are monster movies, but I wouldn't call them monster movies. Jaws doesn't treat the monster the way a monster, for me, is treated in monster movies. It's something slightly different. And The Fly is more existential horror for me, but they both keep in a monster movie list if I was in a different day. So that's just the reality. Is like a different day you get a slightly different list, but you can get the list on the link anyway. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you all later. Bye for now.